Awesome, welcome. Thank you, and thanks to the vBrownBag folks for letting me present today. My name is John Diaz. I'm a technical marketing manager in the cloud management business unit at VMware. And what I wanted to come talk to you about today, or share with you today, is the vRealize Orchestrator Management Pack for vRealize operations. How many folks right here presently are running vRealize operations in their environment today? Okay, good. What about Orchestrator? Okay, about half that number. So let me explain real quick. Orchestrator is a tool which does what the name implies. It orchestrates or creates, or allows you to create workflows to do any number of things, like create new VMs, configure hosts. We even have capability to reach out to third-party systems. Works with vRA. You can do things like send service now tickets, initiate service now tickets through their REST API. So it's got a lot of great extensibility. It's a good tool to be able to automate a lot of things that you would do manually in your environment. So having the ability to do things like take alerts that you receive from vRealize operations and commit some action based on a workflow that does a predictable thing, like restart a VM or delete snapshots or those types of things, obviously has a lot of value. So we released this actually with the 6.7 release of vRealize operations earlier this year to allow you to do that. So it adds orchestrator actions or orchestrator workflows to the action menus for VMs, for hosts, clusters, and so forth. We've actually added some more capability to this. I've been working very closely with the engineering team. In fact, hopefully they're watching from Bangalore right now. Gaurav Gupta is very interested in a lot of the feedback the customers had, some feedback that I had. So I've been working with them on this. And some of the new capabilities that we added are the ability to take any workflows that you create as a customer in your own environment, because that's the whole idea behind Orchestrator, is to allow you to build workflows around routine tasks that you do every day, and things that you might script through PowerShell or something like that, but add some governance and capability around that with Orchestrator. So if you have workflows that you use to remediate problems, and think about something like whenever I see an alert for a virtual machine with high CPU, I always want to check for the processes that are using the most CPU, and I want to get that list emailed to me, something like that. You can obviously automate that task, right, with things like Orchestrator, things like PowerShell. So if I have that action already built, that workflow already built in Orchestrator, why don't I just automatically have that happen when I get an alert for a VM that's had high CPU for a long period of time. So we can actually take those workflows and map those workflows to the vRealize operations recommendations, and you can either commit those as part of an action or part of an alert where you get the recommendation, hey, check for processes that are using CPU. It'll add a little run now button. You click that, and it'll go out and run that and email your report back, or whatever that action is that you want it to do. And then we can automatically do it so that when the alert gets fired, the workflow just automatically runs in Orchestrator. Now I had a demo, and then unfortunately I learned at the last minute. We weren't really set up here today to do live demos, so I'll explain the demo that I was going to do, and then I talked to Ariel, and we'll set up a separate vBrownBag session where I can do that. It's actually better, so I can go into more detail about how that works. But the use case is this. I have my servers configured with NTP, all of my ESX hosts configured with NTP. I have particular NTP servers that I want them to use. I want the NTP service to automatically be set to automatically run when the host boots up. And I want to make sure that it's always running. So vROps can detect all three of those conditions. If I violate any of those conditions, misconfigured NTP servers, the service stops for some reason, or somebody changes the policy setting so that the service is set to manual, for example. And it can trigger an alert. The alert would then fire an orchestrator workflow that goes, oh, I'll go ahead and go fix that for you. NTP is broken on this host. I'll fix it for you and resolve that alert. Another thing that you could do is, instead of automatically fixing that, you could go in and let's say you have a number of hosts that you need to change configuration settings on. Let's say you want to point at a different NTP server. I can have a workflow to configure NTP on each of those hosts. So these are not native actions that are available in vRealize operations today, but these are actions that, if they're important to you, then you can create those yourself. And the nice thing about Orchestrator is there's a large body of work out there. In fact, the NTP workflow to configure NTP on a host, I just pulled down the script for that off of the vBrownBag site and made a couple, 2, 3 little changes. But there's a lot of community content out there, as well as we do provide in the management pack a number of workflows out of the box that will automatically be added to the action menu. So we give you kind of a starter kit, and then you can go on and build your own. So this is kind of what it looks like. A little bit of an eye chart here. I had to pull these kind of at the last minute from our enablement deck for the next version of vROps. It's going to be released in a few weeks. But you can see here what we have are the traditional actions that are included with vRealize operations. Things like delete idle VM, power VM off, on, those types of things. But then these orange icons that indicate that there's an orchestrator workflow that's now been exposed as an action, and these are the starter kit, the ones that are provided out of the box for you. So, for example, we're looking at a cluster object here. So we can do things like, for hosts within that cluster, I can say, put these hosts in maintenance mode, one or more hosts in maintenance mode. I can do host power operations. I can do things like decommission a host from vROps. And then I've got a workflow here at the cluster level that I created. It's actually not one I created, it's one that comes out of the box with Orchestrator. But there's a workflow in Orchestrator to find orphaned VMs. And what it does is it looks in its own index and says, I can't match these VMs up with anything that lives in vCenter, and it will email you a report based on that, as well as a list of files that it can't correlate with any other system or purpose. So you get a good report there that tells you, hey, this is where you may have storage waste and things like that. So now I can run this directly from vRealize operations and have that report emailed to me by virtue of just adding that custom workflow to vRealize operations. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with something like RV Tools. Before, RV Tools is kind of, that's a good thing that it does. It helps find orphan VMs, but it's a separate tool that you have to run. Now with this, you can bring that capability directly into vRealize operations. And you can see here also that some of the improvements we made over the last version, if you got to play with the 1.0 version, you'd realize that you had to kind of pre-fill, or you kind of had to know the name of the virtual machines, or like if you wanted to impact all the virtual machines, like I wanted to migrate or evacuate a host, I needed to know what host the host name was that I was going to migrate to. And now we've added a lot of pull down lists where we go, oh, these are all the host targets that you can move to, so you can do a pick list. So little usability features like that don't seem like a lot, but they go a long way for for making this easier to consume. So again, I'd hope to have a demonstration for this, but we will do that in a future, probably in a couple of weeks. We may do an ad hoc or something like that, so you can get an idea of how it works. Not available today. The 1.0 version is, so you feel free to download that Management Pack and install it just to see what it does for you today. It won't allow you to bring in the custom workflow. It'll allow you to bring in custom workflows, but it won't allow you to tie them to the alerts and things that, that I talked about. But you get an idea of what the capability is, so you can check that out. But when you see vROps 7.0 release, that's the same time that we'll release the new management pack with all these great capabilities in there. So any questions? That's about all I had for my session. No? Good. Well, thank you for your time, and thanks for vBrownBag for letting me speak today.